It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of September 17th, 2004. We got 6 movies to look at, notable movies, some good, some not so good, some pretty bad ones, but there's a lot of interesting films in general to take a look at, such as the first film we have here, the biggest new release of the weekend, and that's Jude Law, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Angelina Jolie in Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. Yeah, the tone of the marketing was all over the place, but really that first trailer, I think, really sold the movie as something that is more ambitious, more high concept in general, and that's one of the reasons why I got so excited for this movie when it came out. And sure enough, when I finally saw the movie, I was very impressed by what I saw with it. It's a film it's one of those movies I saw in theaters when it came out, and I never forgot about it. It's a great, underrated film in general. The story here is that you have takes place in 1939. We have Gwyneth Paltrow as an intrepid reporter in New York City who makes a connection between the story she's covering of famous scientists suddenly disappearing around the world and a recent attack on the city by giant robots. Determined to find the solution to these happenings, she seeks the help of her ex-boyfriend, the captain of a mercenary legion of pilots, played by Jude Law. The two are investigating the case when the robots attack the city again, though in a stroke of luck, Sky Captain's right-hand man, played by Giovanni Ribisi, is able to locate the source. They then set off on an adventure in search of the evil mastermind behind these schemes, who's bent on creating a utopia and destroying the current world, and they're also teamed up with another captain played by Angelina Jolie. Yeah, the film didn't really make a lasting impact at the beginning. It was seen as a box office flop, despite it made like $58 million off of a $70 million budget, so it was seen as a flop in general, but the movie was a revolutionary groundbreaker for the time. I mean, they made a trailer out of this 4 years ago in black and white and was able to show it to studios who were impressed by it, but no real studio eventually came on board until Paramount did very late on in the production of the movie. Plus, there's a lot of things that are very unique and different is for the time. I mean, you had a whole bunch of different digital artists coming in here to create these multi-layered digital 2D and 3D backgrounds, and the entire film was sketched on, hand-drawn storyboards, then recreated as CGI animatics, and they really took a lot of chances with the visual effects in this movie in general, and you see it in those trailers. I mean, this is a movie that looks unlike anything that we've seen in movies before this, or even after this. I mean, it's a really, really impressive film in general. It was actually one of the first movies to be shot entirely on a digital backlot, which back then was really unprecedented territory. Nowadays, it's become kind of the norm, honestly, to shoot with a digital backlot, but here, this is something that really had not been attempted to be done before and wasn't really done again until later on down the road. I mean, years after this movie came out. The movie really is a damn good movie, man. I was really impressed at how well it held up after all these years, after 2 decades. It's a really great film. Gwyneth Paltrow and Jude Law are great together on screen. You got a lot of great performances by Giovanni Ribisi, Angelina Jolie. You got Bai Ling, Michael Gambon, Omar Djalali, and he even got Laurence Olivier, too. He had been dead for, over 10 years at this point, and yet they were still able to find a way to bring him into the movie, and it's really impressive stuff. It's not like AI. It's just what they did was, they used computer manipulation on video and audio from when he was a young actor to essentially make this roll it for him in the movie, and it really looks impressive. It does not look like AI like it would nowadays. It really feels like something really cool and really unique for the time, and it's just such a good movie, man. Such an amazing film to watch. It's a really impressive outing in general, and yet no one really ever talks about it anymore. And also this director, Cary Conrad, who had done a lot of commercial work, music video work. This was his directorial debut, and he has not made another movie since this. I mean, there's been projects where they've been attached to, but never really got completely off the ground. But you can definitely tell he took a lot of inspiration from stuff like, most notably, the Superman cartoon, The Mechanical Monsters, which I did a riff of that in the past. If you're going to go check that out for a little bit of cheap promotional tactics, go ahead and hit the corner there on I was keep forgetting which side this is. I think it's this side right here, but it's that side, but I'm pretty sure it's this side. But yeah, you can definitely tell that when you watch the trailer and you watch the beginning fight scene where the robots take over the city, you could tell that he took a lot of inspiration from that Superman short in general, and it's an impressive movie, man. It's a movie that I really I really wish it gets a lot more attention than it does, because it's really an impressive feat and a movie that really has not gotten the proper respect I think it deserves. I mean, it has become a cult classic, but I feel like there should be so much more to it. Like, it'd be interesting to see what happens if when they put this out on 4K. I mean, I'm actually kind of surprised we're not getting a 4K release as of the time I'm recording this, which is actually the start of August, so August 1st, 2024. But it's a really good movie, man. I can't recommend this one enough. Definitely check out Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. It is definitely more than worth the watch. Speaking of movies that are more than worth a watch, here's another little underrated gem that came out on this weekend. Bernie Mac starring in the sports comedy Mr. 3000. You forget Bernie Mac was a pretty good leading actor after the Bernie Mac show came out. And this is one of those movies that, again, kind of like with Sky Captain, didn't get the proper respect it deserved in theaters when it came out, and really has not gotten a whole lot of attention since then. But I remember really liking this movie a whole lot. You see it in the trailer there. You have Bernie Mac as a retired Major League Baseball player who makes a comeback at age 47 in order to attain 3,000 hits, because he's just 3 hits away from getting the record, and that basically will knocks him out of the Baseball Hall of Fame if he can't get those 3. You'd think it would be easy, but if it was, then we wouldn't have a whole movie out of that. I mean, but the film works because, one, Bernie Mac has just a ton of charisma. He's very funny. He plays this role very well. He really makes it work. You also buy into the chemistry he would have with somebody like Angela Bassett, which, yeah, they're definitely decades apart in terms of age in general, but I mean, they both work off each other really well. And you've got a cast that also includes Paul Sorvino, Chris Noth, Michael Rispoli. The whole concept is very funny. There's a lot of good moments in general. The movie is just really... It's really, really funny stuff, man. It's a movie that does not get the proper attention that I think it deserves. It's a film that really is... Yeah, it's a very formulaic film. It's a film we've seen done to death. It's the typical sports movie trope. Like, he's going to go in there. He thinks this is going to be a cakewalk. Like I said, how hard is it to get 3 hits? When you're 47, yeah, it's very hard to do, and so we got to have a movie around it. There's going to be that point where like, the third act break up. There's something bad that's going to happen, and then all of a sudden he's going to have to realize that it's not about him, it's about the team. And yeah, it's very much that plot. But if it's done well, it can work. And in this film, I think it's done well enough to recommend it as a really good, underrated little gem. This is directed by the same person that did Drumline, which was a great movie that came out a few years prior. It's a really good movie, man. I do recommend it a lot. I think it's worth it just for Bernie Mac alone. I think the comedy works. I think the chemistry between him and Bassett works very well. I think the sports comedy aspects are very funny. It's a really good movie. I don't think it gets as much proper attention as I think it deserves. It's a really good film. I do recommend checking it out. So, let's go ahead and move on to another sports comedy, this time in the world of tennis, and that is Wimbledon. The movie where Vision and Mary Jane Watson have a relationship, and Happy Hogan is Vision's agent. Oh, and Dr. Alan Grant is playing Mary Jane's father in the movie. I mean, come on, how else do you think I was going to sell that to you? But, yeah, this is Wimbledon, a romantic comedy that is not written by Richard Curtis, although when you see the things that say from the maker of Notting Hill, Bridget Jones's Diary, and Love Actually, you think that would be the case in general. Well, not so much, but it is very much a working title film, which is, of course, the company behind those movies. And in the film, Paul Bettany is an English tennis player in his 30s whose ranking slipped from 11th to 119th in the world, considers he's never really had to fight for anything, as this wealthy but all but close family easily puts him through studies and allows him to pursue his tennis ambitions, bravely exchanges jokes with his German sparring partner in a similar position, but feels it's about time he's getting too old and to compete with fitter coming men, or boys, and intends at last Wimbledon to take a job as a prestigious tennis club indeed. Instead, just then, by accident, he bumps into Kirsten Dunst's character, Lizzie Bradbury. The American rising star of female tennis falls in love with her, and finds her interest in him changes his entire perception, even giving him the strength to win again. But where will it leave them, especially with her overprotective father, played by Sam Neill, as her manager, proving determination to nip the relationship in the bud, believing it to be detrimental to her career. And, this is another one I remember seeing in theaters. A funny story, when I went to see this movie in theater and got out of the theater, we had like the remnants of a hurricane come through. So I was essentially stuck in a movie theater for nearly 3 hours, waiting for someone to come get me because the roads were getting flooded because we were getting the remnants of this hurricane. And some of you may be saying, why didn't you just go to another movie? Well, I didn't know what the hell I was going to get out. I didn't have a cell phone back at that time. I think it was because of this that my parents realized, yeah, I should probably have a cell phone at that point. So you can thank this movie coming out and that hurricane for allowing me to have the cell phone that is evolved into me doing these videos through my cell phone right now. But what about the movie itself? It's alright, I guess. I mean, there's really nothing about it that's truly spectacular. Paul Bettany and Kirsten Dunst do have a nice little relationship together in the movie. I like Sam Neill and Jon Favreau, the characters they play here. The romance is pretty generic in general. It follows the typical romantic comedy tropes, and it's just kind of a bland film in general. There's nothing really about it that makes it truly spectacular. The comedy isn't really all that clever. It's just kind of like mediocre stuff at best. And for a movie by Working Title and the people behind, these great movies, Notting Hill, Bridget Jones, Love Actually, you definitely expect a whole lot more than the film they give you here, and it just feels like a lower than what they're usually good at. I mean, this is a movie that really is trying a little too hard to be more mainstream than what these guys usually do with these romantic comedies. It's not bad in general. It's just kind of forgettable. It's a movie that I saw. I was just kind of like, I mean, I liked it when it came out. I really have had no intention of ever going back to watching it again. But, like I said, it's not terrible, but it certainly could have been a whole lot better with the talent involved and the fact that these guys have made much better romantic comedies than this. I don't know. For me, it just didn't work. Not a bad movie, but not a great one either. Speaking of bad movies, now we get to some really bad movies. Let's start with National Lampoon. Last year they had Dorm Days. They'll try to recreate that success again with Gold Diggers. Will they be successful? The answer to that is no. Keep in mind, this is an Animal House National Lampoon. We're not getting that good National Lampoon. No, we're getting the same National Lampoon that made Dorm Days the cult hit that it was. And not surprisingly, this also got really, really bad reviews when it came out. You surprised? But you have Will Friedle, that's right, Ron Stoppable, and Chris Owen, the Shermanator from American Pie, as two dim-witted friends who try to get rich through small crimes, including an unsuccessful attempt to mug two elderly women. They agree to get married, the women scheme to kill them off, and collect on a life insurance policy. The men think the elderly woman will die and leave them a big inheritance. Why are we even here, then? This is basically Darwinism at its absolute worst. Two people are waiting for other two to die. Two people are waiting for other people to die. Where's the fun in that? And it's PG-13. What do you expect to happen in a PG-13 National Lampoon movie called Gold Diggers? Like, this is a terrible movie. This is a lousy, lousy movie. And unlike Dorm Days, where you go into it hoping for a little bit of higher expectations, this does not. I mean, this really does not have an idea of who they're even targeting. Like, are they targeting the people that love Animal House? Are they targeting the people, like it's really hard to tell which target they're going for, and they fail in every way, shape, or form. The jokes don't work. It's lazy writing, lazy humor, lazy TNA because we have to get the teenage boys, the horny teenage boys, to come watch the movie because there's a chance we'll see people naked, even though it's PG-13. There's actually a review right here that I think pretty much sums this movie up. National Lampoon's Gold Diggers makes the Anna Nicole Show look sophisticated. Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, I'd rather watch the Anna Nicole Show instead of watching this garbage because, on the Anna Nicole Show, I don't know what's going to happen. Even though it's going to be really stupid, I know that something interesting is going to happen there than in this movie. This is just a void of emptiness. There's nothing of value here whatsoever. It's a lazy film. It doesn't even know which audience it's targeting towards. And it's just a terrible, terrible movie. This movie is garbage. Garbage. Plain and simple. So, not much more to say about that one. So, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. John Waters' latest movie, A Dirty Shame. Kind of like Gold Diggers, except there's actually something of value to it. but I don't think it's enough to really carry the movie as a whole. This is, of course, written and directed by John Waters, his last film that he's directed as of the time of recording this, because he hasn't done anything in the last 2 decades in terms of writing and directing. But in here, you have a community in suburban Baltimore dividing between people with highly conservative attitudes towards sexuality and those who have been turned to sex addicts after experiencing concussions, including Selma Blair with the woman with big boobs, Johnny Knoxville as a man who can, like, breathe fire, and you got Tracy Ullman, Chris Isaac. Again, there's a lot of things about this movie that don't really work as well as they should, but it has kind of the same problems that Gold Diggers does. It's a movie that can't really decide if it's going for a specific audience or trying to go for a little bit more of a mainstream audience. I mean, yeah, it's an NC-17 movie, but it feels like one of those NC-17 movies that's trying to prove that, you know, we can be a big mainstream release in general, and it just doesn't work that way in this movie's case. I mean, it's better than something like Showgirls. I mean, I can give it that at least, but even then, like, it has some funny ideas. It has some ideas that could be really interesting and could have a lot of potential in terms of what they could do here, but it just never goes that full route to say that it's something that's worth watching. But I mean, give it credit. John Waters is trying to do something that is very much in the style of what some of his most memorable movies. You know, stuff like, you know, Pink Flamingos and like Polyester, like those old movies that made his name. Like I know he'd been going on a mainstream stream at this point with Hairspray and Crybaby and Pecker, but this felt like he was going back to his roots, and I don't know. I don't think it really worked in this day and age in general. It just feels like a movie where you see the potential of what they could do with it. There's some good ideas in there, but it's never enough to really make me say it's something you gotta check out. It's a movie that is kind of so-so. Like, sometimes it can work, other times not so much. It's a movie where there's possibilities of what they can do, but they never really go all the way with what they could possibly do with it. Like I said, not a great film, but certainly not a bad movie either. Kind of a mixed bag review on this one. So let's go ahead and get back to some more garbage as we wrap this one up here. We have Pauly Shore is Dead. Some people, this is probably what they hope Pauly Shore actually does do in real life. Not one of those people per se, although, you know, it's the last year we've talked about his many attempts to try to get the biopic rights to be Richard Simmons, which who knows if that's actually going to happen, even though he said that there's indeed going to be a movie about it. But this is a mockumentary, about semi-autobiographical retelling of Shore's early successes and dwindling popularity in the late 1990s, after which it documents Shore's fictional attempt to fake his own death in order to drum up popularity from his fans. It features a ton of cameos. You see it in the trailer there. You also have people like Pamela Anderson, Cheech and Chong, Carson Daly, Ellen DeGeneres, Dustin Diamond, Jewel, Eminem, Dr. Dre, Andy Dick, Adam Sandler, Sam Kinison, Paris Hilton, Natasha Henstridge. They go all over Hollywood for this movie, and sometimes it can be funny, but then other times not so much. It's a movie that really does feel like a movie that should be like a Comedy Central made-for-TV movie, like back when they were doing made-for-TV movies back then. But here, it just kind of feels like a film that was blown up for the big screen. They thought that this was going to turn Pauly Shore's career around, when really it did not. I mean, he's still kind of seen as a pariah even today. But the film just really isn't as funny or clever as I think it wants to be. It's a movie where they really don't have enough there to really give this movie the juice it needs to become that great cult comedy classic that I think they're trying to make it go for. And it's just not there in this movie. It just really feels like a film that is just... The ambition is there, the idea is there to make fun of yourself in general, and I don't think Pauly Shore really still gets the fact that people don't really like him all that much to call him kind of to still be seen as anything more than a pariah. I think he still has this higher class to him. I think. I don't know. Like, it's been a while since I've seen anything in recent stuff that would make me say otherwise. But in this film in particular, it feels like a movie that's trying way too hard to be too satirical and too over the top. But for what it is, it's not the worst, but it's definitely not a good movie either. So, mixed bag on that one too. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We'll wrap up September on the next episode with Julianne Moore in The Thrill of the Forgotten. We also have Katie Holmes and Michael Keaton in First Daughter. Edgar Wright begins his Cornetto trilogy with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost in the zombie classic Shaun of the Dead. We also have The Last Shot with Alec Baldwin and Matthew Broderick, and also The Motorcycle Diaries starring Gael Garcia Bernal. So 5 films to look at next time. We'll look at those movies on the next episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So, with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.